Good morning and welcome to Title Tech, brought to you by the New York State Land Title Association. Title Tech is here to help increase the technical literacy of the industry surrounding the real estate transaction. Whether you work in title insurance, real estate law, or lending, there's plenty of innovation out there for you to learn about. My name is Andrew Zankel, and I am the president of Core Title Services, a New York based title agent. I'm a member of the executive committee of the New York State Land Title Association, and I'm the technology committee chair. A few years back, I started to notice that there is innovation happening in our industry at a rapid rate nationwide, and adoption seems to have skipped New York and most of the Northeast. As we all know, these areas operate in a different manner than most of the country, but this uniqueness will not keep these technologies at bay forever. There are some incredible opportunities out there to improve our processes and efficiency through technology, and the first step in embracing these opportunities is through education. Title Tech was originally conceived as a full-day event covering a myriad of topics with industry leaders and technologists from across the country. It will be an immersive learning experience where you hear about a technology on stage, then get to speak with a related vendor in our exhibition hall, or start up a conversation with an expert while networking. Our initial event was supposed to take place in May of 2020 at a beautiful theater off Times Square in New York City. Then the pandemic hit New York and the event was postponed indefinitely. After a few months, we realized we need to pivot and take our shot at hosting a scaled down version of the event virtually. Today, as a result of many months of hard work, we present to you a condensed version, sort of a preview of our eventual live event. With our media partner, Bo Digital, and our virtual platform, Remo, you will be able to listen to an informative panel, partake in a CLE/CE presentation, interact with many exciting exhibitors, and network with peers and colleagues. I want to thank our sponsors and exhibitors for their support of Title Tech and having the foresight to see the value in what we are doing. The fact that you have stuck by us through this crazy year and continue to support our mission is incredibly validating. A tremendous amount of work went into making this event a reality, and I want to take a minute to thank my committee for their perseverance. A sincere thanks to Vice Chair of the Title Tech event, Carlo Famia, the Vice Chair of the Technology Committee, Dan Selakoyer, our exhibitor and speaker liaison, Stacy Reardon, and last but certainly not least, Bob Troiber and Regina Capone of the New York State Land Title Association, who took a chance on a new idea and worked tirelessly to make it a reality. I also want to thank the officers and executive committee of the New York State Land Title Association for their backing and faith in what we are doing. This is the first of what we envision to be many Title Tech events, and we hope you enjoy it. Now, on to the program. We have curated 4 panels of subject matter experts to discuss 4 topics that we feel are of importance now and in the future. Our first panel is a subject that I am a true believer in. While the technology might not affect how we work in 2021, I believe it will help transform the efficiency and transparency of what we do in the next 5 to 7 years. Blockchain technology might have gained notoriety through Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, but the underlying technology is a game changer for any record-based industry. My good friend Alex Kanan has put together an impressive panel of experts in Andrea Tininow, John Dean Markunis, and David Thillander to discuss blockchain technology and what the possibilities are when it comes to real estate, title insurance, and land registries. Thank you again for your support. I sincerely hope you enjoy Title Tech and learn a few new things. Now, on to the first panel. Alex, take it away.
Welcome. Hello. Welcome to 2021 Title Conference's blockchain panel discussion. Today, we will be discussing a technology which nowadays we cannot get away from hearing about, regardless of where we go. This technology, which first became known for its application in Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency revolution, it is now finding its place in virtually every aspect of every industry, including real estate and title insurance. So the risk of oversimplifying it, I guess blockchain can be described as a type of a peer-to-peer distributed and decentralized database technology that can be leveraged to validate and keep track of transactions over the internet with unprecedented levels of transparency, efficiency, and trust. It has the ability to securely streamline everything from personal identification to land registries, from capital formation to transaction settlement. So additionally, through a process known as tokenization, blockchain allows us to create secure digital representations of shares, as well as ownership rights in properties, investment vehicles, debt instruments, and further simplifies the process of thereafter reselling those assets by creating in due time, a robust and liquid dual-sided market for an otherwise traditionally highly liquid assets. So this is all very exciting, and chances are you've all heard these things before. But what does all this really mean to you? What does this mean to you as a real estate professional, as a title industry professional? How does this concern your business? What should you be doing or thinking about it, if anything? So these are some of the questions that we will be discussing today. And I have the honor of moderating today's blockchain panel and the great privilege of having with us three industry colleagues, each of whom I personally admire and respect, and who will help us delve into and answer some of these questions with the limited time we have available today. So without any further delay, I want to quickly introduce our panelists. Speaking of people I admire, Andrea Tinianov is a well-known Delaware attorney. She's a consultant, she's an entrepreneur, she's a true blockchain pioneer, having started the Delaware Blockchain Initiative all the way back in 2015, which led to the creation of transformative blockchain amendments to Delaware's business statutes. John Dean Makunas is also someone I'm honored to call a friend, a colleague. John is a real estate industry blockchain advisor, a business development consultant. He's a principal consultant of Power of Chain Global Consultancy, and it's a blockchain advisory firm. And John has over 30 years of experience in commercial real estate and title industry. And I'm also very privileged to have with us today David Thielander, who is special counsel with the Vermont law firm of Gravel and Shea, where he works with a team of lawyers in supporting emerging technology companies to achieve success while leveraging Vermont's very favorable blockchain-friendly environment. David actually served as outside counsel to Propy. This was a global automated real estate transaction platform startup, and he supported, this was one of the first of its kind blockchain land registry pilot projects, which was completed in Vermont. And I myself, my name is Alexander Kanan. I'm principal of Kanan Law Firm. We specialize in real estate, private equity, and blockchain law. Years ago, I pioneered some of the earliest Bitcoin real estate transactions, and now my practice is mainly focused on advising clients in all aspects of capital formation, traditional, as well as tokenization of existing ownership and mortgage interests, as well as consulting clients on various other asset-backed digital security issuances. I also have the privilege of being the chairman of the Wall Street Blockchain Alliance Real Estate Group, which I'm very passionate about. So without any further delays, let's get into it, guys. Perhaps, John, you as someone who has extensive experience both in real estate as well as blockchain space, perhaps you can help and lead us into this discussion by addressing, some of the questions around why should this matter to us as real estate professionals? Why should this matter to the title insurance industry?
Yeah, thanks, Alex. Thanks so much, and thank you for having me on the panel. I think anybody who works in the real estate industry globally comes across, or even if they've been purchasing real estate, comes across the inefficiencies of the real estate industry all across the board, not just in terms of purchasing, but selling, investing, and so on. And there's a lot of inefficiencies associated with it, and especially with land registries where you're finally recording your deed. There are gross government inefficiencies. There's non-interoperable platforms or software systems between agencies and between counties and judicial, or I should say, other states even. There's fraud and collusion. There's inefficiencies in processes, and there's incomplete and insecure and typically bad data that's aggregated and shared. So I think the real estate industry is held up as one of the best use cases for blockchain technologies and related technologies as well. So there's no way of getting around that right now.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, John. I think I'm really happy to have David with us, because David, you were involved with some of the earliest, some of the most immature, as far as the existing environment projects in Vermont. Can you tell us a little bit about what were some of the biggest challenges you encountered having gone through the process?
Yeah, thank you, Alex, and also pleasure to be with you all, and thank you for having me on the panel. Very briefly, yes, and John, to your good point is uh, highly inefficient. County by county, the patchwork of regulators, jurisdictions, real estate transactions, so highly inefficient. Government involvement, highly manual processes again. And of course, and it's truly real estate industry being ripe for disruption for blockchain. And a good use case that did arise that I'll speak about is Proppy and these challenges that did arise in this pilot collaboration. But I'll set the table briefly to say how that project came about. So Proppy's based in Palo Alto. This was back in 2017, 18, while we were advocating to have a blockchain bill passed in Vermont, which we were successful doing. The word was getting out around Vermont's innovative ecosystem for potential blockchain innovation. And long story short, we introduced the Proppy senior team to a very innovative, forward-thinking municipal government, City of South Burlington in Vermont, and introduced Proppy team to the City of South Burlington, particularly the city clerk, who remains there, and we introduced a dev team, which again, based in San Francisco, Bay Area, Silicon Valley, to this Vermont city that had exactly what you're talking about, John, is again, highly manual, inefficient, land registry recording capabilities. And long story short, the Proppy team took over a year, brought in the blockchain dev team, product specialists, leadership, of course, and we assisting that process throughout. And I want to mention my partner and colleague, Michelle Farkas, who's the head of our real estate group, was also integrally involved in that. So to get to your question, Alex, that project, the challenges were initially, frankly, the Proppy blockchain team knew real estate well, but the ins and outs, the guts of how a land registry platform work, because again, to John's point, they differ across many jurisdictions, right? Learning the guts and the recording process, which of course is heavily regulated, needs to be secure from an identity standpoint, which of course blockchain enabled technology provides a ton of benefits in that area. So the initial challenges were getting folks in Vermont comfortable with, hey, this is a potentially, leading edge. I won't use the term disruptive, but I use the term disruptive, and that it could, let's understand and assess these the barriers for the city clerk's recording team, getting them comfortable, and then of course, making sure that the dev team understood those processes and controls in place in Vermont. So that was the initial challenges, and I'll stop there because it looks like you want me to ask me a question.
No, it sounds like you were that unique link. You served as this bridge between technology and traditional infrastructure, which obviously made all the difference in one of the first pilots. Andrea, I know that you have also experience with getting the Delaware Initiative through the system and getting it to where it actually was in a position to affect the change. Was your experience similar to David's?
Well, I want to jump in, and I just want to take a quick step back, because when we're talking about blockchain technology, and I thought you gave a really excellent description for those who may need for someone like me, I need a more basic understanding, which is the notion that at the very basic level, blockchain is about a database of information, right? It's a database, one database that is replicated across a community of computers. So all the computers are looking at the same database, right? So if we're talking about what David was working on with Proppy and with their municipal government, the idea is that you would have all of the records presumably would be on this spreadsheet or on this database that would have processes that would be applied, right? There'd be applications to track and transact, to have transactions. So part of the issue is creating, getting that technology to the new technology, the blockchain technology, to integrate with your current infrastructure. And that's where, David, I think you ran into some issues. And I know when we talk about real estate and title, the question is how far back do you go with getting your records onto this database that you can then use and rely on as, and this is a term you hear a lot in the blockchain space, the single source of truth, because whatever you put on that database, you want it to be completely accurate. And so I had a very similar experience to David when I was working for the state of Delaware. I was in the Secretary of State's office in 2015. When we learned about this brand new technology, we thought it was pretty powerful, and we thought, wouldn't it be a great use case to put corporate registrations on that, so that as people created new companies, we weren't going to go back in time, but as companies, people created limited liability companies and corporations, we could take that data, put it on this distributed data, this database, and then we would have smart contracts, or they're called in blockchain land, or applications that could draw that information out and use that information in all sorts of applications. And frankly, in 2015 and 2016, we got a lot of buy-in. And like David, I also got to know a technology company that could offer that great service, that great tech to the state. And we got a lot of buy-in. But you know what? That buy-in didn't last, because the governor, who was a big support of the project, he was termed out after 2 terms. He left in 2017. A new governor came in, and then the project got shut down. What we were able to, as you said, have some success, because at the time that we started talking about adding blockchain technology to the Secretary of State's office, we also spoke to part of that initiative was to speak to the lawyers in town. And Delaware has a very robust corporation law council. And when we started talking to them about the opportunity and the potential, they were all in. And frankly, they ran with it, and they drafted legislation that eventually got the support of the new governor, who signed them into law. So we did have a happy ending. But I think everyone saw the potential, and the potential is there as well for title and for land recordation.
Yeah, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. It sounds to me like similar to David's experience. There's not only the cultural and technological learning curve that's to be overcome, but also a political one.
Absolutely. And I will say that in Delaware, we were facing blowback from the incumbents, who were concerned that, and that's the thing, there's always, whenever there's something new, there's always going to be their competing interests. And I think, that brings us back to this conversation, because the question is, how can people in title insurance ensure that they have a place in the new technology, in the new world that's to come, right?
Sure, that's certainly one of the reasons we're having this conversation, is to try to at least tackle this concept. And speaking of tackling concepts, let me pose a question to all 3 of you, perhaps, because I know that there's a lot of talk, and I myself sometimes catch myself calling this an industry of talking about it. But if we were to cut through the hype, if we were to just get to the essence of what is there right now, what is there today, what is the realistic potential of all of this? John, perhaps you could start us off. What I guess the real question we're all dying to have an answer to is, will video kill the radio star? Yes, yes or not, and why? John, would you mind taking?
I think like yourself and all of us, I think I fall into the hype trap, the hyperbole involved with this blockchain technology, distributed ledger, and so forth. One of the things I'm going to say up front is that there's a belief that it's going to eliminate certain vendors or certain intermediaries. That could happen in the future. There's a belief that these vendors or intermediaries functions will be diminished. That'll definitely happen. But blockchain will not replace much of anything within the title insurance industry. It'll only help improve it. the belief that a title insurance policy would be rendered unnecessary if all the documents comprised of a chain of title to a property were stored and indexed in a time-stamped, immutable,
Mhm.
chronological database, which can't be tampered with, which can't be changed,
Yeah.
is ridiculous. So I think that we have to look at blockchain technology is going to be improving the title insurance industry, and the title insurance industry agencies and even the big four, they're going to have to grapple with this and somehow begin adopting it in order to maintain market share, grow market share, and to stay in business. Because another thing that a lot of people say is regarding real estate agents, a lot of people think that real estate agents will be replaced. They won't be replaced. Real estate agents will be replaced only if they're not embracing new technologies to conduct business.
Bingo. And let me weigh in on that, Alex. Exactly right, John. And we do a lot of, and Andrea and I are working together on a bunch of projects around legal tech broadly, including this and, blockchain and the financial services, real estate industry. You're absolutely right. And to get right to the nub of it, the city clerk of South Burlington, who's very seasoned, deep in her job, her whole mantra was, if this will allow my staff, my team, to focus less on these highly manual, error-prone processes and free them up to do more value-added services to the public in the city, that's a big win for everyone. And John, and again, if the broader picture is, this is coming. This is not coming. It's here. Digital innovation, right? We hear what's happening. I'll keep this brief, but across banking industry, real estate, title, notaries, all those stakeholders in these incredibly, again, manual error. The people who are adding value in these processes will continue to add value.
Absolutely. And Andrea, what do you think about? I mean, obviously, there's a few reasons why I happen to completely agree with you guys. One of them is this human factor, which I don't believe is that easy to disintermediate, right? And no less importantly, this garbage in, garbage out problem, which Andrea and I have spoken about before, because if it's supposed to be an immutable ledger, then the importance of what goes in there is exponentially greater. So there's Andrea, I don't know if you have any thoughts about what.
Well, I think what might happen is two things. It may be that the technology will be best suited for new homes. So as the new homes get built and they're put on a ledger, and then you start to have that, immutable information associated with the real estate. And it may be that then you go back. But I think also that it very well may be that, yes, this is a time of digitization, but it may be that the other parts of the ecosystem go onto the blockchain when it's profitable, when it's efficient to do so. It may be that in Burlington, Vermont, this was not, using blockchain for all its value was not an efficient way to move forward. But at some point, and I think it's going to happen sooner rather than later, as more mortgages and mortgage platforms are moving to blockchain technology, as more fintech companies proliferate, we will be seeing pushes towards distributed ledger as payments are being made more freely with digital currency. We may just see a push, but I think everyone, the audience here, should be asking the question, sort of, what can I be doing? What are the questions should I be asking right now? What are the issues I need to be thinking about if I want to be relevant in 10 years or 20 years? And not only for myself, but for my industry. Whether you're a lawyer, you should be speaking to your local bar association. If you're, title insurance, the associations that you're a part of, as a group, what kind of questions should they be asking, and what kind of issues? Because the politics are very real. And so the more educated they are, the better questions they will be able to ask, and the better they'll be able to prepare. And the fact of the matter is, everyone in the room, everyone who's listening, they're experts, and they have something to add to the future of where this technology is taking the industry. And I suspect everyone on this panel could probably be helpful towards raising those questions and answering those questions.
Absolutely, absolutely. It sounds to me, fleshing out some of these issues that it's really driven by business. It's driven by industry motivation, and
Exactly.
the politics are motivated by the business and by the industry, and part of overcoming these barriers requires a real political will of governments to invest in digital technologies and develop institutional and regulatory infrastructure. I call it the rails. You need there to be a robust system of rail system, so that these new vehicles, these new innovative technologies have a place to grow and proliferate. I'm
So
getting
Yeah.
religious on you guys. My
I
apologies.
just want to jump back and ask you, Alex, what do you think? Will video kill the radio star? What's your prediction?
You're turning the tables on me.
I am turning the table on you.
I happen to agree with everything you guys have said. I think there's something to be said about disintermediating this concept of insurable risk, which is what drives the insurance industry, title insurance being no exception to it. And I think there is a degree to which you can automate and machine learn what's needed, but there's also a human element in this concept of insurable risk, which I don't think can be easily digitized and disintermediated. I think as part of clearing title, for example, there is a need for an actual observer, a human being, to look at some of these exceptions and see what is really, what constitutes a clouded title, for example, and what doesn't. There is this human factor that I think is going to take a long time to automate and disintermediate, if ever. And I also think there's something to be said about legacy systems, which each of you have alluded to, and this patchwork of jurisdictions and townships and states and ordinances that are virtually impossible to navigate in today's analog environment. And I absolutely agree with what Andrea said. I think there's a limit to what we can do retroactively. And I think it might be more fruitful to come up with a way to move forward while dealing with or living with the previous analog world. Again,
Yeah.
getting a little too philosophical, but please, guys, I invite you to correct me and invite your thoughts.
No, and Alex, I'll just jump in for one moment and say and use your train analogy, which I think is apt. The Vermont Pilot Collaboration Project, and this is where you're right. This is not going to happen. It's here, but it's not going to happen overnight. What we were careful to do, those legacy systems for land registry recording stayed on the existing track that it's been on for decades. We created a parallel path, literally to get in the weeds, different computer, different system, all different IT program, didn't touch figuratively and literally.
And that's what we
right?
did. We did the same thing. We did the same thing.
So
we
those,
weren't dismantling anything. We were just adding a parallel that would
Yeah.
provide the distributed ledger technology. Exactly.
and the humans, this is where, again, for the title industry, the human brain. So as these two tracks are proceeding, the legacy system and the potentially new blockchain-enabled system, two parallel tracks, we really needed humans. And Andrea, your good point. Lawyers, city land registry experts, right down to IT, and that those tracks will take years to eventually, start laddering them together. But there's going to be a need for that. I'll say legacy knowledge and skill set for years to come to help build this new train track.
One thought, I had mentioned that for 11 years I worked for CSE as their assistant general counsel, and I was a VP there as well. And you look at the e-recording services that they provide in the the title space, the land title space, and you can imagine that one way would be for them to start hashing documents to a blockchain just to get started and see what people think and see if there's value there, and then to take it a step further and take a step further. So I think there are a lot of ways that this technology could advance through and add new value to the ecosystem.
Let me just throw out there, I think one of the biggest problems, and Andrea, you've referred to it, Alex, and David, you went through it. The political will. Without that, you won't get much done. So, and Andrea, as you mentioned, you have to have the business segment and sectors pushing that. But I'll tell you something, David, and you went through this. There are over 3,000 counties in the United States. And I don't know if anybody in the audience knows this, but I'll ask the question. How many counties out of the 3,000 plus, about 3,200, have adopted blockchain?
I was going to say big fat goose egg.
There are two, Carbon County and Teton County in the state of Wyoming. And it's surprising. The state of Wyoming has, what, Andrea, a dozen pieces of legislation devoted to blockchain.
Quite a lot.
Okay, so we have like 3,198 counties to go. How is that going to happen? In my opinion, just to sum up my thought on that, it's with three things. It's education, and the third is education, because that's where we all fail, I think, in terms of a blockchain community, is providing the education and showing the value proposition to not only the title insurance industry, but to the real estate industry as a whole. And at the end, with the deed recording, the land registry officials.
Amen. That's spot on, John.
Absolutely. I mean, I think we all remember back in 2011 that, Mark Anderson wrote this Wall Street Journal article, "Software is Eating the World," and I think a lot of people who read that article took it as a message. Either you evolve or you go extinct,
Or you get eaten.
That's right. And then there was an Intel CEO, right, Andy Grove, who wrote I think it was a book called something like "Only the Paranoid Survive," and I think that's a great bookend, right? Because ultimately, this is what we're really talking about. Should you be paranoid, and if so, how do you survive? So I don't think at the end any of what we discussed today should cause anyone to be paranoid. But as almost each of you have just mentioned, I think what we discussed today should at least invite at least our colleagues and people in the title and real estate industry, invite them to reach out, to learn what this is, to learn the underpinnings of why this potentially has ramifications that touch every single one of us in our businesses. So only the paranoid survive.
And on that note,
well, I cannot thank every single one of you. This was an honor and a privilege for me, and I only hope that this was the first of many times we have this discussion. And obviously, thanks to Title Tech for allowing us to use this venue to discuss our passions and to voice our opinions.
Thank you, Alex.
thank you.
Thank you, Alex. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you
Bye,
all.
everybody. Stay safe.